everyone, this is Fake for Life, and today's P4L review will be taking an early look at a pre-production sample from X-Transbots Toys. This is your MX-IX Paean, which I guess means Song of Praise or something like that. I have no idea what that's in reference to, but this is obviously a Masterpiece Hoist. This is the third entry into kind of the Masterpiece Hoist Trailbreaker space from the different third-party companies. First being Ocular Max, then Bad Cube, and now X-Transbots Toys. This is a pre-production sample, so disclaimer, there are things that aren't going to be final here. They're going to be, the use of these is to test out tolerances and, even try to finish and stuff like that, and even paint applications to make sure they know what they want to go into the final production piece. So keep that in mind as we go through this. Really quickly, let's do a 360. Let's push them up to the side a bit so I can fit in some comparisons. But you can see it's really well executed. Probably the most quote-unquote realistic of the three that I've seen so far. I haven't had a lot of experience with the Bad Cube Glory or that mold, so take that with a grain of salt. You might have a better idea of that. But overall, I think this looks a bit more accurate than both Ocular Max and Bad Cube. The paint applications are quite nice, the ones that they have so far. Just small silver details here and there. This line is really fairly well executed. The problems are just, with yellow coverage, and again, it's a pre-production sample. It's been in many hands before mine, so there's that. Nice silver paint here, some details like molded detail on this turbo 4-wheel drive, turbo here, some translucent pieces throughout, like there, up here on the lights, and so forth. Does have one interesting thing going on, and I think this is just for testing purposes. The front and back wheels are different. So the front wheels are glossy and silver painted, while the back are kind of matte and chromed. They are separate pieces, so I think they're maybe just testing that out. The only other thing I will note is that the wheels actually sit outside of the base of the truck itself, which is a little odd, but it's not that noticeable. As far as functionality goes, he does roll quite well, and he has his little toe thing, so it has a separate wheel. You can hear it wheeling around there, and then it has articulated pieces that fit different, not wheel bases, wheel widths. So you can do B or bumble, like so, or you could go ahead and spread these out to accommodate a wider wheel like streak here. It's a cool functionality, I suppose, but it's not wholly necessary. Other things that are going on with the alt mode are that it does have translucent windows. I wish it was a bit darker, just because the way the transformation works, you can see the head right inside the front here very clearly. But otherwise, it's really well executed, and then the back is very clean. I know that was a major complaint with Ocular Maxes. So yeah, that's really it for the overall view in terms of playability and stuff like that. We talked about this, but he does come with a ton of accessories. So kind of in the vein of Takara Tomy, he's getting a bunch of things. Let's just start off with the alt mode features or accessories. So there's two. There's this big kind of crane hook thing, and it's spring loaded. And if you want, you can grab a face or something like that. He does have two faces. He has the silver one, which we'll probably use more, and then the green one that I currently have installed. Looking at this though, it does have tabs that fit into the back here. Just plug them in. I wish the tabs were a little bit longer. They're quite tight, but for this piece, which is really tightly ratcheted, I feel you have to hold this a bit. But it's ratcheted in 3 sections, and then you have a swivel here, and then a rotational joint, and then we already talked about the spring-loaded claws. So really quite cool, quite long. Again, with this sample here, I did notice that it doesn't sit straight on this joint, so that's kind of odd. Maybe they'll fix that. It also comes out here. I'm not sure, maybe they were planning something else to go with this, but there's nothing that I got that has any functionality of this pulling out. And it has some fake spool here. It would have been cool if this dropped down or something like that, but probably way too much effort for an accessory not many people are really going to use. These, I love these things. These things are little articulated claws. I think he used it to grab somebody out of a trench or something like that, or off a cliff. He used the same tab mechanism, but all these individual pieces are ball joints, and so you get you can do a lot of crazy stuff. Like, you can twirl this around like a cyclone, like this, or you can get it all the way out and doing some like S curves and everything like that. It does have little clamps at the end, and since they're all ball joints, you can go in every direction imaginable. I will say that they need to tighten up these tolerances a bit because it's pretty heavy, so they don't hold themselves up that well. But in terms of execution, this is really well done. And this uses the same tabbing mechanism. You can clamp on some people. Reminds me of Doc Octopus. Alright, so now we're going to get into transformation. The transformation on this guy is a bit more complicated than Ocular Max, but it seemingly looks less complicated, at least from what I've seen from Bad Cubes, which is a good thing, so it's kind of in the middle there. There are some tricky bits, and thanks to 539 for, first of all, helping send this to me, but also give me some tips on a couple places that I was struggling with. So the first thing we'll do is come to the back, and actually let's lift this up a bit. And what you want to do is pull out on the sides here, and that frees up the back. The next thing we'll do is actually flip these forward, pull up on all these sections. This part comes up, this part comes up, and then you pull out. There's a peg here, there. So pull up on this tab and then pull out. And then all this comes up like so. We'll deal with all this later. Let's just leave this for now. And then we're going to come down here. We can flip these hip skirts down. Untab this if it hasn't already been untabbed. There's one small peg here. Then we can come to the back and separate the two legs if you want to do that. Lastly, the thing I like to do is these side panels are actually on double hinges in the back. So just pull up on that outwards and let those kind of work their magic. Come on, like so. And that gives you a little bit more room to work with. Come on, there we go. And then you can bring the entire lower body down like this. And so the lower body is completely different between this and their Trailbreaker, their Aegis. So the first thing we'll do, I like to get the hip skirts kind of out of the way, so let's just fold them back on themselves and they peg in. You can angle them a bit. This was actually kind of a unique thing. I've never seen this kind of executed this way, but I think it's actually done quite well. All right, now for the legs, you're basically going to just pull down on these, and these C-clips are what kind of connect there. You want to pull them down like this, and let's take one leg at a time. It'll just be much easier. First thing we'll do is open this panel. When you open that up, you're going to pull this way, and you're literally going to pull. So I kind of want to show you how this works. Bring the foot down so I can just show you. Flip this up, and then you can flip the wheel up on this hinge to get out of the way. But you'll see this sliding pin joint. You want to pull this all the way out for robot mode. And it's a little hard to do. It's tight, and you don't want to pull on this out the leg because the C-clip is a little thin. Just pull on the base here, and you should get it to slide out the majority of the way. I find the easiest way to get the rest is to kind of complete the transformation. Flip this inside the leg, and then from here, give it a little push this way. And I think that's easier to get it complete. Once that's done, you'll see these orange clips. go in like so. And you need to make sure that this panel, this set of hinges is all the way inside the foot, because this gray piece will end up being the tab that goes through that flap that we opened up at the beginning of that transformation. And there you go. Open up this hinge here. Just push on this and it'll sit into place. This orange piece is a painted die cast, and it is mismatched. So hopefully they can do something about that. But the foot is a lot of die cast, so that little heel piece kind of thing, which you can have down if you want. It doesn't really serve a purpose because it's not in line. So, and you have this giant piece here, so you don't really need that. Flip that up to hide any hollowness. That's die cast, and the toe is completely die cast. So a lot of die cast in the foot, so you'll have that stability that we all know and love. Flip open the same thing here. I will say that the paint is chipping a lot, trying to open this up, and it looks like it's painted all over orange plastic, so it's kind of weird looking. It looks almost like rusty as you go through. But again, be careful, and this is a sample. So we're going to just go through this one again very quickly. Let's get this up, heel down, rotate this wheel in. But again, the tricky part is pull on the leg. Come on. There we go. Get it partially out. Flip this in and then push from this side, which is much easier than trying to pull all the way out. And that will get the pin all the way in. Make sure that's pushed all the way in so that once you tab the legs together, everything kind of goes into place. If you have bigger fingers, you might have a bit of a problem with that execution. Then go ahead and get the knee completed. Like so. And with that, you have all of the leg done. Not too bad. At this point, I like to rotate at the waist and then push all the way back. It's on the sliding joint. So push all the way back like so. Now we'll get to the upper body. Let's go ahead and flip these wheel side view mirrors to the back. Rotate them back now. We're going to separate the door from this panel. Wheel well panel, the front panel. We're going to pull it out on these arms. Oh, actually, let's untab the arms first from the wheels. You're going to pull these down and rotate them out on these ratcheted pieces, which will end up being part of the shoulders. Sorry, let me actually scoot this up a bit. It's a little bit easier. So from here, I like to deal with the head because the head is a little challenging. I've seen people post videos. The way the head works is that you want to pull it out, but because of the way the head is shaped, you need to actually rotate it to the side and then pull it out like so. Then it's going to go through this set of armature, I don't know what you want to call it. Push that through it and then you'll see it come out on top like that. Alright? But once we do that, we can start doing the rest of the upper body. So this folds all the way down, and you'll see from the side here there's kind of cutouts for the shape, and you'll see how there's like a little ridge in here. It's hard to see, but once you get that in like this, push it, you'll hear it click into place, and that's solid. Let's deal with the arms just because the backpack, I feel like, actually let's deal with the backpack first. So the first thing we'll do is come to the back here, flip these little pieces down, fold in the windows, and these were like this. Flip them out. And let's get these stupid arms out the way really quickly. Just want to get a clear shot of this. So from here, there's also these green panels that flip out and go 180 degrees, and they notch into place. So see, this side, I think maybe it's not molded correctly or something yet, but it doesn't sit into place like this side does. But anyways, these are just space fillers. You want to come down like this. And how this works is you want to get this piece angled up, this set of hinges angled up, and then this orange tab here, you see that orange tab here, is going to go into that slot. Like this, push that in. There we go. That's solid. Flip this up, these wings up, and again, there's indentations to let you know where to stop, but you can rotate it wherever you want, but these are the preferred angles. You can flip out his analyzer section, I forget what is the diagnostic tool, and flip up the door, the trailer door, and the toe, like so. So it compacts pretty well. And then lastly, those little pieces, orange pieces that you flipped out, they're going to tab into these small holes on either side. Just go ahead and do that. And with that, you're done with the backpack. The arms are very interesting. So let's get these down. Like so. So the way this transformation mechanism works is you can see there's a gap there. You press down and rotate it down, and then it'll lock into place. It almost reminds me of like what is it called? Like those medicine bottles, child-proof medicine bottles, where you have to push down on them or they won't actually move on you. Once that's done, with the arms here, you'll see that the fist is on the back. Just pull that out. I don't know what's wrong with my voice right now. And then this panel will flip around and complete here. I think one thing that I will say there is that they could have done this a bit better if they did some kind of like a rotating ball joint, because then you could just do this, pull it out, rotate it, and then cover this hole in a rounded manner. But it's the back of the arm, so really who cares? But I think that would have been a kind of neat inclusion. And the arms extend. They do need to lock into place a little bit better on the final copy, hopefully, but the actual mechanism is there. Same thing on this side. The only difference is this one has the blaster installed, and I don't know if you're going to get a right hand or not. I think you do, but you also get 2 of these blasters. As if you'd need 2. I'm not sure if you would, but in any case, go ahead and pull this down, and as with the other side, go ahead and flip this panel around and close it. Rotate at the bicep and extend it if it hasn't already extended by itself through that transformation. The arm panel, I don't know if you want to keep it up or if you want to straighten it out. Either way, you can do it. I kind of leave it back like so. And there we have Hoist or Paean in robot mode. And it looks quite good. He's definitely more stocky and everything like that than the what's it called version, the Ocular Max version. So I think they did a good job, and because the entire lower body is completely different, it definitely looks more accurate than some of the others. So doing a quick 360, very clean overall. Backpack's pretty well executed. No hollowness, everything's kind of covered up. The inside of his body is definitely mostly hollow, but they use that panel and everything like that to cover everything up. So they did a really good job there. So as far as the accurate piece, I think maybe he's the most accurate so far of the hoists. I do have his G1 toy head on because this is actually my second time filming this review, or at least transformation, but he does come with this other one. So this one is the toy one, and the Toon one is painted silver. It came already really marred up because of the transformation and the tight clearances, which I think they're going to try to clean up a bit or fix. But just be careful, because obviously on silver you're going to see a lot of damage if you damage your figure. And here is the G1 toy head. a little bit flatter than I think I would like, but I think again that's for facilitating that really tight clearance through the transformation. Articulation-wise, he does have a swivel on the head, up and down pivot or hinge on the neck, and then the neck panel that we use for transformation exists. This thing, whatever analyzer, diagnostic tool, is on a couple hinges. I wish it came a little bit further forward, but it's kind of cool that they did a all-in-one transformation, kind of like Bagcube. And then I showed you these wings that can rotate as they like. The only problem I have with this figure, this mold, are the shoulders. I think the shoulders are not that well executed, in the sense that there's a lot of clearance issues. Because of this backpack, how close the shoulders are to the main body, you can't really get a good rotation without untabbing some stuff. Yeah, you may be able to just pull that out, but I didn't do that. But I think you probably can. But in terms of you can see already the interference that's getting caused by that. But once you get it through, it does work, but the tolerances there are too tight. There are a couple of shoulder joints, so at the base, you can get like maybe one, maybe two clicks. I can't really tell, but that's really for transformation. There's another ratcheted joint in the shoulder itself. So you can get about 90 degrees. I think you can probably force a 90-degree ratchet. But in any case, you get more than enough there. The biceps, we show that they swivel, and he has a 90-degree elbow bend. And then on the fist, he has a rotation on a mushroom peg, and then the standard KFC X-Transbots hands with the ball joints at the base, and then the 2 extra points of articulation for each finger and the thumb. As always, be careful with these, just because they are small, interlocking ball joints and joints themselves. You could easily lose them. Waist, you get about 30 to each side. It's really because of this backpack. You could untab it and get some more, but I think it's enough. You also have these skirts that go to the side and forward. So I don't know why there's a stretch mark there of all places, but in any case, friction joint going forward and back 90 degrees as well as out 90 degrees. He does have that hidden thigh swivel, which I always like the best, and then a fairly deep knee bend at over 90 degrees. The lower body, he does have a really big ankle tilt, and you can see the hinge here for forward and back. And then the die-cast toe has some hinging going on. And again, if you want this back here, you can, but really it's meant to fill in that gap. This thing I think is kind of long and weird. I don't know if it's that necessary for stability, but I can't tell unless I cut it off. It would have been nice if this kind of folded around or something like that to have a little bit cleaner foot, but it's not bad. So let's go ahead and do some quick comparisons. First of all, as always, comparison with MP10, quite a bit shorter. Here he is with Ocular Max's artifacts, and they're about head-to-head there. I do prefer the chrome here as opposed to the silver paint, but it's really up to you. Same thing, I actually prefer the silver here as opposed to the white, but whatever works for you. So we showed the alternate head, which will show installation, and you get this 2 sets of face masks. I only got one, but this is like the alien face mask they use for the movie production. He comes with one for himself and then one for official Masterpiece tracks, but they forgot to send me that one. But it just kind of slides over like this. I think it works on both heads too. Pretty sure. Yeah. So you can recreate that scene where they're like hands straight, like walking like all goofily like this. The other things he does have are a couple of things. So he has 2 of these, and the way these work, they're on pegs. This one and this one, they're on pegs. On the other side of the hand pieces here, if you were to transform them in, you'll see that there are actually peg holes there. You can plug this in, and what this does is you go into your storage area with all your MPs that you never play with and their accessories, and you get the Masterpiece ratchet tool, and this one tool pegs in like this. And I don't know if this is a particular scene that they're recreating where he uses Ratchet's tool, but that's it. That's the only purpose that this serves. And they give you two of them. I don't think that was wholly necessary, but it's nice that they gave them to you. Alternatively, you can do this double barrel blaster, again using the same peg hole. And I think they're blasters. Maybe they're some kind of welding tool. If you don't want to do that, but you want to give him his hammer, you can go ahead and use this mushroom peg. You just push off on this. It's kind of tight, and just be careful with mushroom pegs. You want to make sure you pull them off and not break that peg, but you go ahead and push this back on, and then you get his little hammer deal. You want to get one, so it's very similar to what you got with Ocular Max's version, but I think that one gave you two. But yeah, most likely you're going to be using this blaster the entire time. For the head, it's the same thing. You have the mushroom peg. I find it a little bit easier to push towards the back. Ow! Shoot, that hurt. And then when you put it back on, I find it easier to push to the side. Just because. And that's probably how a lot of people are going to display their figure in the more toonish version. The last accessory you get is another solar collector. So we got one of these with grapple. So I don't know why they decided to include this. They probably already had the molding done, and they're like, whatever, we'll just give them another one. I don't really identify this with Hoist that much, but you know, it's nice that they have it. Doesn't look as accurate, but nice gold paint, little antennae kind of thingies. So you have another one of these to also keep in storage if you're like me. So yeah, so we did comparisons, we did articulation. I think overall, like again, I think this is probably the most accurate. You know, most stumpy, has a really stocky legs for Hoist. So I think they did a really good job there. Transformation backwards. There's only a couple things that you need to be pretty aware of when we do this, but let's go ahead and go backwards. First thing we'll do, let's deal with the arms. These open. Sorry, this was actually supposed to be like that, but we were messing around with all the accessories. Flip this in. Remember to split the tip of the barrel. Remember to have the fist all curled up, and then push it in like so. And then you're going to collapse the arms like that. All right. Get these back panels like this for now. And then we're going to deal with the backpack next. So unpeg these orange peggy things, and then you're going to pull back on that orange tab, get this all up. And since we're already up here, let's go ahead and flip this green piece down. This one too. Close that up. Open up the side windows and fold these down in. All right. If you want, you can fold this back for now as well. But everything else just keep kind of exploded. Oh yeah, we're actually going to need to keep these open because when you go in, you're going to fold it up like this. But in any case, for now, let's go with the head and the upper body. So untab chest. There we go. And then if you want, you can slide the waist back into this position. So again, with the tricky part of the head, especially this one, making sure it's sideways, getting that clearance through. You might want to tuck the head back. Get it cleared through there. Oh, and see, one observation, there's blue marks on this gray piece, which is hindering or making transformation a little bit more difficult. I think they're just marking that to provide feedback that they should get rid of that or make some adjustments to that orange piece, molded piece, not orange, gray molded piece, to help facilitate transformation, because it's not really that necessary. It's only a little bit off. So go ahead and slide that through. Once you get it through, you're going to want to rotate the head so that it's facing out through the windshield. One quick note, make sure that the neck is completely straight when you push it through. So don't have it so that the neck is like this. You want to make sure the neck is straight up and down. Otherwise, you're not going to get enough clearance. So that caused me problems before. Make sure it's straight up and down, and that way you can actually push through enough so that this piece, when you fold it up, will clear. If you don't, this green piece will run into the back of the head and you won't be able to get correct transformation for the cab. Okay? Alright, with the arms, pull back. Oh, no, sorry. Pull out on the arms like this. I'm going to have them come in like this. And when you rotate them in, you're going to see this part up. And you're going to want to push it into the cavity there. Make sure to clear that tab when you do so. And then when you push in here, you're going to be able to tab in the wheel right there. So same thing on this side. Push out on this. Get this in like so. And this hinge piece should sit in between the two arms, like that. And tab that in. Flip these side mirrors, side view mirrors forward in preparation for the last step of the backpack. From here, we're going to deal with the lower body, but first we're going to want to rotate this all the way around. Let's deal with one leg at a time. First thing I'll do is just pull up on this, fold this back in. There you go. Go ahead and flip the heel out, and then rotate the wheel back down on this hinge. Now we're going to go deal with the shins and the lower legs. So again, be very careful. Ow. All right, so once you have that opened up, you're just going to untab here and pull out on this entire set of hinges. And then you need to reverse that process where you get the pin all the way in. This one seems to get stuck on me on this one, but you might have better luck than I do. But you definitely just want to get it all the way pushed in as much as possible. This one's getting stuck. That might be good enough for now. So yeah, that piece, the reason why you do that is that when you flip this in, up like this, and get this situated, you're going to be able to close that up completely. And then this clip here goes around the knee joint. Like so. So you have one side done. While we're up here, let's go ahead and flip this hip skirt out. Untab it like so. And let's do the other side. Oh, and this piece needs to fold up on the toe. On the other side, we do the same thing. Push up on that kneecap. Fold that in. Get the heel out. Rotate the wheel down. And then we're going to go ahead and open up this shin panel. Ow, there we go. Untap it and expand it out. And push this in. Shouldn't be this hard to get in. I remember having no issues with it before. There we go. And so once you're done with that, this C-clip piece again goes around the knee joint. Get that tucked in here, and that will allow you to cover this back up. That way you have both halves of both legs done, and then you can tab both in together. They have tabbing mechanisms in the middle there. Get this hip skirt around as well, because I forgot to do that. These hip skirts need to flip up because they need to clear this piece, which we'll get into in a second. But before we do that, let's go ahead and extend these side panels so that they're flush. And get this entire section all the way up and through. Sometimes this piece gets stuck in here. There we go. So these pegs will peg into the side wall here, the round one. There's two right next to each other, and there's kind of a square rectangular one. We're going to use that for this one there. But once you're starting to straighten all this out, get these hinges straight, and that way you can fold these green pieces down. And then you'll see a small gap right here. There we go. And the hip skirts, the front hip skirts have to sit between those green flaps and this green rail here. That way you bring all this kind of down. And as before, we just kind of push all this into place. Go. And then again, there's a tab there, but you need to get that. Cleared first. Come on. Oh, well, let's deal with this. This tab has to go on the inside of the side panel, and then these pieces have a small peg that go into that section there. Flip these around, and then yeah, it's just a matter of getting this piece. Not sure what's going on here. This piece should come down. There's no interference. At least that one. Oh, there we go. Make sure these are vertical because they go into this slot here. So sorry about that. And that way that tabs in there. That tabs in there. Push this in, and then these two side tabs tab in. Actually, the toe also has a set of ridges inside this side piece, but those usually fit in pretty easily. It's usually this green tab that causes problems. There we go. And that way it's all cleaned up. Hold this up. Get these side mirrors straightened out. And there we have Paean, or Masterpiece Hoist, X-Transbots at Masterpiece Hoist, back in alt mode. Pretty clean, right? So as far as final thoughts go, I'm really impressed with this figure in terms of what they've been able to accomplish and the outcomes or results from both this mode, which I think looks really good, and significantly different from Aegis, their Trailbreaker, as well as their robot mode, which again looks very different from their Aegis in terms of the whole lower body. The fact that they invested a whole bunch of extra money into essentially this entire back piece being different, for being a third company out of four, at least four, that are going to be tackling these characters, it's a lot of investment, and especially for kind of minor characters. So I'm surprised they did it. I'm happy they did it because they definitely differentiate the character much better than, say, Ocular Max's version, which they did do significant remolding, but not as much as these guys here. Oh, and I think the entire chest might be die-cast. No, I'm lying. The other thing is he comes with a ton of accessories, so he gets all these, all this stuff, not this thing. So you get a lot of display options and playability options for this guy, and the fact that he comes in at cheaper than both Lori and Artifacts is a real big boon for it. So in terms of quality, lots of diecast, probably more diecast than, definitely more diecast than Ocular Max. I'm not sure how much compared to Lori, but probably somewhere in the middle there, so that's good. Price is the lowest, which is great. Accessory-wise, it has the most, and also the transformation is actually quite good without being too overly complicated. So it has a lot of things going for it. So I would say at this point, this guy is probably the best executed MP Hoist of the offerings from third party so far. There are rumblings of an official one coming out, and obviously the Fans Toys one's coming out for Trailbreaker, so probably one for Hoist as well. But those are all speculation, so you'll have to make a decision there. But I can say that as of right now, I think this is the best executed Hoist of the three that are out. Alright, so if you have any questions or comments, let me know in the comment section below. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up and share. If you want to pick this guy up for your collection, go ahead and click on the Toy Dojo link in the description below, and they'll get that out to you once this guy is fully released. And lastly, I'm actually going to do, I've been trying to do more live streams, so I'm going to try to do a live stream maybe Sunday night, so Easter Sunday, I know that's Easter Sunday, probably around 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to show off this guy and this guy, so that you guys can ask any additional questions if you want regarding these characters and some comparisons. All right, so keep an eye out for that. Thanks a lot, everyone. Hope you have a good one.